In video games, movies, and on TV, a tried and true trope when the hero is in peril by the villain is to use the villain's worst tactics to beat them at their own game. Well, today the heart jumps at such a thought, and last night on MSNBC, Lawrence O'Donnell offered up bad news for the evil orange villain and his Supreme Court henchmen by using their own tactics against them. Well, your heart might just jump a little too when you see it. It's no secret we're all shell-shocked by the endless news cycle that seems to indicate momentum is shifting from good to evil. Well, to keep it in the realm of Faustian rebellion, the script that counters that, well, it's pretty clear. We turn their instruments of repression against them by employing cunning, intelligence, and virtue to win the day. It's true in any epic hero's journey in literature, it's true in popular video games, while it's even true in pro wrestling, arguably the most valuable point of reference in the circus of chaos. And in that spirit, in this upcoming clip, Lawrence O'Donnell may well have landed on a way to counter the political figure four leg lock that is bending our will and hurting our knees. And that's potentially bad news for Donald Trump. As you'll see, most importantly, Lawrence sets the tone for how we need to beat them at their own game, on every issue, on every move, moving forward every day. Now, the internet is full of ideas, ranging from Biden resigning before the convention, Harris succeeding him as president, and appointing Barack Obama as VP for the 2024 election. That's all constitutional. Or Biden uses his new powers of immunity and maybe says something like, "I'm adding new seats to the Supreme Court. Sue me. You all think I'll be dead in 4 years anyway." Well, the point is, if the rules are changing, we have to find ways to beat them at their own game. And let's not let fear obscure a simple fact. These are bad people for sure, but they're not the smartest lot by any stretch of the imagination. From the pipsqueaker of the House to the grand dam of the MAGA ball.
The most mistreated group of people in the United States today are white males.
To Milquetoast Mitch.
No question, none, that President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day. But in this case, the question is moot because former President Trump is constitutionally not eligible for conviction.
To their Obi Slob Kenobi, now sitting in prison in Danbury, Connecticut.
Tonight, Steve Bannon behind bars.
These are not geniuses, but they are dangerous past fiction, especially this guy, the Heinrich Himmler of Santa Monica High.
We have multiple tools across multiple fronts to ensure that we are preventing terrorist infiltration of our country.
Well, if name-calling works for them, you see my point. We must beat them at their own game. And last night on MSNBC, Lawrence O'Donnell proposed just that, turning the cat's cradle back on them. Because as Joy Reid points out, the presumption is Democrats are above such actions.
I don't know if everyone here watches Game of Thrones. But if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you will note that in Westeros, there is a king, and then there is the hand of the king. And when the king is very young or very old or very mad, the hand of the king is effectively the king. And what I think you saw in this ruling today was the Supreme Court declare their preferred president, of course, because they know no Democrat would exercise these powers in the way they would very much like their next president to. They've declared the president and former presidents to be kings.
Well, maybe, but not with democracy on the line. And that's how we need to consider thinking about all of these things moving forward. So let's let Lawrence O'Donnell show us this methodology in action. As if it's a plot twist from the West Wing, here's Lawrence holding court and citing the last swerve that could balance the playing field in the prosecution of Donald J. Trump.
So the very bad news for Donald Trump in this decision today, and for candidate Trump, very, very bad, is that Mike Pence is going to walk into a federal courtroom, raise his right hand, take an oath to tell the truth, and testify against Donald Trump in this case in September. It's going to happen much faster.
You're saying it's an evidentiary hearing?
Absolutely. So what this is we've created an absolute immunity on one paragraph of the indictment, applying to exactly one paragraph of the indictment. All of the rest of the indictment goes back to Judge Chutkan's courtroom, and she schedules this. This Supreme Court has ordered her to have a hearing about the evidence in the case to determine whether the act in question is an official act, whether it might have some kind of protection or not. And that's for everything in the case except for one conversation that he had with the acting attorney general.
The Department of Justice.
So what you're looking at here is basically there'll be some briefs on each side, and then the judge will schedule a day and say, okay, we start today. Mr. Smith, who's your first witness? And it's exactly like a prosecution. And for what Jack Smith's going to have to do, and sometimes in pretrial evidentiary stuff, prosecutors don't want to turn over all their cards. He's going to have to turn over every single one of them, because the Supreme Court has said to him, in effect, we need to see every single one of your cards. So every witness he has, he's going to bring into that courtroom. They're all going to be under oath, and the defense is going to be able to cross-examine them. The defense probably won't bring in any witnesses at all, but you're going to see this incredible January 6th hearing on steroids, possibly for 6-8 weeks, September, October, maybe.
Quickly, Andrew, do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, I'd always thought the sort of silver lining, but it's a small one, because the big picture here is this decision is horrendous for American democracy. But Lawrence is right. There is going to be a hearing, and the Supreme Court has actually said there has to be. So, and obviously there's going to be a lot of fighting about the timing of it, but Judge Chutkan does not have to wait the 81 days that she said she would wait for the trial. This is a hearing, so she can have briefing and she can set up a hearing with witnesses are called.
The decent among us are shocked, and the decadent are dancing. But let's let them have their dance for a bit, and when we can, we pull the rug out from under them. Luke Skywalker used his intuition and intelligence. John Wick can kill you with a pencil. You vote, you work, you buy, and that's the power you have. So please leave a comment below with your strategic ideas to reverse this political tombstone pile driver, and for once and for all, beat these heels at their own game.